Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is, of course, Tuesday evening here in the UK and across the world, and we're kicking off Season 2 here of Flux Motorsport's Touring Car Championship with a wet one. It's going to be gripping the wheels tight for these lads tonight around this Bannochbrae circuit. Of course, we're now stepping into autumn. The leaves are looking red on the trees, and the rain is absolutely pouring down here in Dunfermlineshire, just north of the capital, and it's certainly all set for a grey and miserable racing session, which is going to prove very challenging for these lads. I know quite a few of them are accomplished drivers inside the touring cars, but whether or not they've been able to prepare for a wet Bannochbrae circuit is another thing. A few drivers to keep your eyes out for, and a few new ones as well that I'm going to be keeping my eyes peeled on as this season progresses. But the console makes his racing return after being absent on the track throughout last season, getting stuck into all of the back-end action at Flux Motorsport. He is, of course, one of our moderator team here, and finally getting back behind the wheel, and he's been itching to go in the touring cars. One from the Rubbins Racing days, definitely one to keep an eye out for. We've also got Lecky 2000, who's also been keen on getting his hands back on a touring car. So we'll be watching how the old boys come up against some of the new crowd. I know Tibby's been very excited for this. He wouldn't have been too happy about having to do it in the rain, though. There we are, just focused on Tibby at the moment inside that BMW 320. One of a couple of drivers that have opted for the BMW, but I think it's going to cost them in these sort of conditions, and the rain is absolutely bucketing down at the moment. We are looking for a little bit of respite in the rain as the session progresses, but we will have to wait and see how that gets on. Casey Redwood, he raced with us a little bit throughout last season. Great to see him in the touring cars. I know he's pretty quick on GT Sport. We also saw him on some of the high downforce cars. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in some of these light downforce, pretty light and low on power touring cars. He looked pretty tidy in a practice session that we ran just to introduce the grid to the wet track. I'll have to wait and see how he gets on at the moment. So far, though, Giacomo is the only one to set a qualifying lap in today's session. Currently, a 2 minutes 51 seconds will get a pole position. I'd expect that to come down by a region of 20, maybe 25 seconds come the end of the session. But of course, these guys have got to try and get it clean. You touch those walls at any point and the lap is likely to be invalidated, or you're going to get a slowdown. Also, if you take too much coming up into this chicane now through the cars, that looked absolutely perfect from Redwood there. But if you take too much out of that, it's also going to invalidate your lap, because of the speeds that you go, and you quite often can't slow down in time to try and get that one to stick. So I'll have to wait and see. But Redwood's just coming up down the hill now. He's about to come over an old stone bridge. Look out for any drivers running a little bit too wide onto this one. You catch that bridge and it might well spin you round, and then foot down to the floor. You're going to go down the hill, up, cut through these corners and over the jump. Most drivers will be opting for a little lift out of that, but if you can manage to keep your foot flat and you depend upon your line, you're going to pay dividends. Just coming over the bridge that we've just seen Redwood taking it over, it does jut out, and if you get a little bit untidy up onto the curbs, you can quite easily ruin your car by crashing into one of those pillars. But it looks to be quite a clean lap there from Casey Redwood. Let's see what it's worth in terms of his qualification position when he comes across the line. So far, good enough for second place behind TTV Giacomo. Now let's have a look at the console in his classic number 8 Actral Vision, pink livery. Pink cars go faster, as you may have heard him quote on the autumn special event commentary, along with both myself and Lecky on Sunday. If you missed that, be sure to check out the highlight video if you don't want to watch the full 2-hour endurance race between the LMP2s and the GTEs. We now have a highlight video on there, just 15 minutes, which is just enough to get yourself through a bit of a comfort break, or enjoy whilst you're eating your breakfast tomorrow morning if you haven't already seen it. Lecky has just come in with a stonker. 2 minutes and 35 seconds. That looks pretty good inside the wet. The track will start to dry out. It looks as though we're currently in a light cloud weather situation, so the rain has stopped coming down and it will start to dry out that track. It's just whether or not it can dry it out enough, and whether or not the guys out on track have got enough time to come in and switch over to some dry tyres, to when we'll see those lap times absolutely fall down massively. So currently tracking around with the console. This is one of his favourite circuits to compete in absolutely any car. He's not a big fan of it in the wet, but we'll see what he can do here today. Just coming through this back end section after going over the viaduct. His foot will be flat here, and then he'll be stomping on the brakes as much as he dares before he throws it in left. Looks as though we've got a big puddle forming there as well, so that's going to be interesting to go on. Let's jump into the cockpit as we see him coming up to the house chicane. Flies through that perfectly, cuts all of the corner out, and we can see some puddles forming just on the outside of that. This is a bit of a lift and a throw, and Alex just encountering a bit of traffic. Looks as though it moved out the way just in time. Now he's coming down the hill. That looks as though it could well be Tibby in front of him, but we have also got another driver running in that K-Max Motorsports. Green Gaming also opting for the K-Max Motorsports BMW. So we'll be trying to distinguish between those two. Green Gaming in the number 99 K-Max, whereas Tibby in the number 98. Unfortunately, unable to make out those numbers thanks to all of that spray, but just a couple of corners to go now, and we'll be able to see where these guys are coming up in the final 12 minutes of the qualification session. Looks as though the Renault Megane just able to outdrag the BMW there on the final straight, and Alex goes top of the leaderboard so far. 2 minutes 34 seconds is enough for pole position. It's just whether or not that is going to see him through in the remaining 11 minutes and 30 seconds. Let's have a look at T. Scott, new driver here with us at Flux Motorsport. Oh, as we see him just absolutely eat it there on the second to last corner. That's going to have slowed him down quite a bit. We can hear him there absolutely ragging the limiter. Not sure what's going on. Let's have a look at his speedo. Currently riding in third gear. I wonder whether or not he just forgot to shift there. I don't think it's going to be a particularly quick lap from T. Scott. In fact, that is whether or not it's even valid. Let's have a look at somebody else. J46 Dyson. Scottish driver from a little bit further north in Scotland, up in Inverness. And he's looking pretty tidy. Currently third on the podium, and just 2.4 seconds. Looks as though he's currently held up inside the pit lane, potentially switching over to some dries, and he might just want to chance it here in the final 10 minutes of the session. Let's have a look at Al Oxon, aka Old U82. He's rocking the Air Bubbles livery. So the number 11 Renault Megane currently doing pretty well, just 2.8 seconds away from the pole position of the console. And he's got quite a big lead ahead of the rest of the drivers as well. We've got to go almost a full 6 seconds back to Jack in 5th place. It looks as though we've got 2 packs forming up already on the qualification run. That being said, this track is starting to look a little bit drier. We've still got spray coming up, but whether or not there's dry lines now forming, we'll have to wait and see. There could well be in the remaining couple of minutes in this session. It almost looks as though the sun is beaming now here in Dunfermline. Looks as though we've got a little bit of movement there. Tibby looks as though he's just gone down a place. Looks as though Luke Snipes is actually jumped up a little bit. And Quiet Man coming in from absolutely nowhere there. Just got himself 7th on the grid. That's good going from the American. have a look what he's currently doing. He's absolutely hooning that Megane around at the moment. It's riding the number 54 FluxMotorsport Megane. And he was driving it like a rallycross driver there for a second. Not sure how well experienced he is on this circuit, so maybe he's just spent the first 12 minutes getting to know it. It's going to be an interesting one when it comes into the race, and we just see there a big sort of let off before. I think he just missed his braking zone, and that does scream a little bit of inexperience. Looks as though Giacomo has brought some of his clan back. For those of you that were tuning in live on Sunday's special event, you'll know that he brought his own crowd with him. Unfortunately, he couldn't turn it into a win, but he certainly performed pretty well in our endurance race, and Finley Wall's watching him, whereas Big Al is live in the comments section. Good to see you, Big Al. Hope you're keeping well. She's rooting for the console in this one, and it's going to be a battle of the two mobs, it seems. But good to see you all on there. Let me know your predictions for the race. So I know that Giacomo's mob is certainly going to be rooting for him. He's currently sat in 6th position at the moment. Just looking at the sector times though, Alex, aka the console, is purple in sector 1. Casey Redwood actually going purple in sector 3 on my timing board. So it looks as though Casey Redwood is starting to find his form a little bit and potentially finding a bit of a dry line. Let's have a look over with the console. Let's see how this one's going. Looks as though he's still on wet tyres at the moment, but he's hooning it up. How late will he leave it into the braking, into the left-hander up towards the pub? Bonus points to any of those people watching if you can tell me the name of the pub as he flies on past through it, through Bannochbrae itself. Hard to spot there, isn't it, on the pub sign. Cow's just taking a look at Alex's pink mobile as he flings it through the left-hander up to the top of the hill. And is he going to brake? Looks as though just a little bit of a dab of brakes. And he'll be braking into this section as well. Maybe a little bit of trail braking, although it didn't sound as though his revs dropped at all. And is there going to be a lift over the jump? Looks as though just a little tiny lift and maybe a little dab of brakes as well. Trail braking into the jump section, I'm not surprised. Currently heavy cloud here, so any chance of that rain-soaked track clearing up is likely to be blown away. But quite a few drivers now returning to the pits. Just wonder whether or not they're going to be coming in for a fresh set of tyres. Have to wait and see. So the console goes quickest once again with a 2-minute 30.8, so the track is certainly picking up, but then absolutely eats it on that rear left-hand side. And you can see there the window's looking pretty shattered, but he's looking pretty good for pole position. 5 minutes and 35 seconds remaining of the session. So he's looking pretty hot to trot here, the console. Jack is also making big improvements as well. Looks as though the track has started to pick up the in speed. Drivers still opting for wet tyres, but not yet able to pull on the dries, but the track is certainly picking up in its pace. And now is the perfect time to try and get yourself out for a lap. It is going to take around about 3 minutes to complete an out lap, so you're going to have one bite of the cherry at this sort of point on. Oh, and it looks as though Giacomo is just being disqualified, so he's going to start at the very back of the grid, I think. In fact, he's been disqualified completely. He's gone into the pits without his limiter on, so speeding far too fast in the pit lane, and that has got him disqualified. I think he will be able to start the race. It's just going to mean that he's going to start right at the very back. That'll be music to Old Smokey's eyes and T. Scott, who have yet to set a qualification lap here in this 20-minute qualification session. We are going to be all set for 45 minutes of action, and it does look as though it is going to rain again here at Bannochbrae. Lecky not yet leaving the pit lane. He's leaving it a little bit late, but that is one thing that you'll have to get used to throughout this season. Loves to leave his exit from the pit lane very late and just come in right at the death to try and set his final qualification lap. Look at all you 82, see if he can make any inroads. Maybe challenge for the front row. Gets mighty close to the Armco there, but I don't think there was any contact. At the moment, Tibby is putting green sectors. Unfortunately, it's not been able to materialise for him that last lap around. Still sat in the pit lane, so I wonder whether or not he's going to just do this one from 11th place and settle with that. Looks like Jesse's joining us, I'm assuming from the Netherlands, reaching out to the Dutch contingent. Got quite a few really talented Dutch drivers at the moment coming in through Flux Motorsport, and if you're watching this and you'd like to also add your name to that roster, then please head on over to our website where you'll find the link to join our Discord channel. That website is, of course, www.fluxmotorsport.com. Go on to there, you'll find a little bit more about what we do, but more importantly, in the top right hand side of the page, you'll find a link there to join our Discord. Completely free service, and we'll get you introduced as soon as possible and hopefully get you on track as quick as possible. So 2 minutes remaining inside this session now. Are we going to see a change at the top? Looks as though Jack is still out on track, just about to complete his lap. His sector times don't look too impressive, although he did go green in sector 2. It's whether or not his third sector is going to be able to pull it around. Let's have a look as he crosses over the line. It is an improvement from Jack. Not enough to try and challenge the console though in top spot, so we'll have to wait and see with this one. Going to have one more lap out there. For all of those drivers that are currently inside the pit lane though, that is the end of their session. So Lecky 2000, that's the end of his. Tibby, T Scott and Old Smoky, they're done for the day, as well as the console looks as though he's just come into the pit lane as well. They're not going to have enough time to complete an outlap, so if they do leave the pits, it's not going to be to try and change their position. So all eyes on the rest of the drivers, especially Kovkarl, who's just come out of nowhere and got himself on the front of the grid, on second place on the front row. 2 minute 33.076, just managing to beat Jack's qualification time in third place by just more than 15 tenths of a second. So barely anything in it. Kovkarl, obviously, for those of you that used to watch us through Robbins Racing, will know that he's got bags of experience in the touring cars. I think he's been itching to try and get back into them competitively with these guys once again, and he'll be looking to try and find a good finishing position, potentially even a victory here tonight, if he can do it, to put his best foot forward for the remainder of the season. For those of you that haven't seen on our social media posts what the season is looking like, just give you a quick run through with the touring cars and what you can come to expect. So we're here at Bannochbrae for this week, obviously, and then we're going to head over to Portugal next week for the Portimao circuit, famous over the weekend for a World Championship open wheel event that it hosted. Can't say the name, otherwise they seem to take our streams off air. And then we're heading over to America as the winter starts to kick in. Starting off with Daytona Road Course, and then we're going to be taking it around Long Beach GP. That one's going to be hilarious. If anybody's never seen a touring car race around Long Beach, it's a lot harder than it seems, let me tell you. And then one of my firm favourites, we're going to be taking it over to Laguna Seca in week 5. And then a little bit of a break as we head on over to Australia, with a gap in between for Dubai Autodrome International Circuit on race 6. And then Rapuna Park in New Zealand, race 7, and then we're going to be taking it onto a road course for the final race of the season in Australia. It can only mean one thing, of course. It is Mount Panorama, the Bathurst circuit, for the final race of the season. That is certainly going to be one to watch. Whilst I've been waffling through the upcoming season, Jack has managed to get himself in second place. That has put Kovkar down into the second row, but still a strong qualification from him. And then out of nowhere, J46 Dyson in the BMW just jumps ahead of all of them, finds himself second place on the grid. So it's going to be a front row start for the Scotsman to try and challenge the console. And he got pretty close to his qualification time as well. Looks as though Luke is currently just on a cool down from his lap there. Let's have a look. Looks as though Quiet Man might still be on a hot lap though. Both of his sector times looking a little bit slow, so it looks as though this one's going to be just a practice as he runs down the timer, just coming around the final circuit now. There is a little kinked left, and then he'll be on a drag down to the line, and that is going to be the end of our session. So as we have a quick run through, the console takes pole position with J46 Dyson in second place. Jack finishes in third with all U82 in fourth. Kovkar does enough for the third row with Redwood alongside him. Lecky 2000 in seventh place with Giacomo with a 2 grid place penalty. That finds him in 8th position. We'll have to wait and see whether or not he managed to stay within the lobby. Luke Snipes does enough for 9th with Quiet Man in 10th, Tibby in 11th, T Scott in 12th and Old Smoky in 13th. Looks as though we've had a disconnection from Stoltz, I think. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not he gets back in, but I don't think he's going to be able to make it. So setting ourselves up for 2 minutes of Tinker Time now. And then it's going to be 45 minutes of the Bray. Whilst we're waiting for the drivers to set themselves up with their pit strategies, let's have a look at the car liveries. So the console is in pole position in his pink Actual Vision car. J46 Dyson in the number 31 Veet Motorsport BMW. Jack in the number 4 Zavima Racing Team. Bright green and green, so nice easy one to spot there. All the same with all U82 as well. Green and black in the Air Bubbles livery. Kovkar's easy to distinguish too. Turquoise or baby blue and white in the number 20 PCCF Megane. Casey Redwood is in the number 62 Horbsner Automotive Megane. Lecky in his classic number 2 Momo Megane. Quiet Man is in number 54 in the Kabul Motorsport with Luke Snipes in the number 25 Joaquin Megane. Giacomo in the number 86 Monster Energy. And then we look to T Scott in, just check his number, the number 17 4C Motorsport. Tibby in the K-Max, number 98 K-Max Motorsport BMW. And then Old Smoky at the back of the grid, currently in the number 56 in Mochi Racing. 13 seconds remaining of the Tinker Time, and then we're going to be underway here at the Bray. Let me know your predictions. It's certainly going to be hotly contested in lap 1 as these guys are pretty much bunched up. They're going to drag it down to the left-hander. Looks as though J46 Dyson has actually got the upper hand on the outside, but there's the green light, and looks as though Dyson actually away slowly. That BMW is usually on it like shit off a chrome shovel, but the console got a great start and leaps right into the lead with a considerable gap as well ahead of J46 Dyson. Jack is in third place with all U82 in fourth. Then we're looking down to Lecky moving up in places in fifth there, just running around the outside and colliding with the barriers, it seems. Let's jump into the chase cam. Get a good view of Lecky at the back. We can see there Kovkar and all U82, but Kovkar eats the barrier on the right hand side. Lecky looks over to the right hand side to cut back in as they run over the bridge. Nothing but action here at the Bray. So Lecky is dragging it down to All U82 at the moment. He's not going to be able to do him into breaking into this right-hander. But, oh, huge collision there. Looked as though All U82 getting his braking wrong. Lecky may have just got around from any considerable damage, but a huge accident there as All U82 makes a mistake, collides with the barrier, and it looks as though Casey Redwood has suffered with it. He's falling down the position, so I'm expecting that he's quite battered. All U82 is only just getting moving again. So he falls all the way down to the back of the pack in 13th position. So right up to the front, the console continues to lead ahead of J46 Dyson. Jack in third place with Lecky now in fourth. So Lecky's made big inroads after nearly getting swept up in that accident. He's still 5.3 seconds behind the console, but there's plenty to play for here. Let's jump on over with Luke Snipes as he tends to redecorate the course there with a few road signs. Looks as though we've also got a spinner. I think that's J46 Dyson's BMW. It is indeed. So J46 Dyson just managing to get underway again, but finds himself in 11th place after that spin. And that's going to take some hard work to try and get that position back, that's for sure. So the console leads to Jack, who leads to Lecky at the moment. There's your top three. Tibby's done very well out of all of this. In fact, Tibby has just managed to overtake Lecky because Lecky has had a spin on the bridge and he gets absolutely wiped out. Nothing he could have done there. He was a spinner and a sitting duck, but that's going to be a T-bone and some major damage, so I expect a few pit stops to come in at the end of this one. I imagine there's a few choice words as well being said within the cockpits of some of these cars, but nothing could be done about that. Maybe the drivers could have moved up to the inside, but the comments currently on the YouTube say it all. There is nothing but action going on here at the Bray. Lecky is moving once again. I think Kovkarl is limping it round as well. So back up to the front of the pack. Let's have a look. Casey Redwood coming together with I think that might have been T. Scott. So we've all changed here. The qualification was almost meaningless because the drivers have switched position that many times. Currently on board with Casey Redwood, so that is T. Scott and J46 Dyson ahead of them. So Dyson's done very well out of this one. Luke Snipes is, oh, Team 46 Dyson was doing very well, but he absolutely murks himself coming out of turn 2. So Lecky in the pits at the moment along with Luke Snipes. Kovkarl is also in there. Tibby has come in for the pits as well. All U82 also into the pits. I suspect that we're going to have some more guys coming into the pit stops come the end of this one. The track conditions are certainly challenging and everybody is suffering at the moment. The console at the moment though is leading the way. Jack in second place. Giacomo is now in third, so really benefited from the rest of the action going on track. He did suffer with a couple of grid penalties from the qualification session, but found himself in line with a podium touch at the moment. He is only 2 seconds ahead of T. Scott though, and Casey Redwood, who are currently tracking around, isn't too far away either. Looks as though All U82 is now out of the pits. He's got himself some repairs, I think, as well as Luke Snipes. Tibby, Kovkarl and Lecky still in there getting their cars repaired though. After really heavy T-bone accident, I suspect that Lecky could well be in there for a while and there could well be a steward's inquiry to follow. Looked as though TTV Giacomo's just been overtaken by T. Scott. So Giacomo falls now into third place. Looked as though the two cars may have come together. It may have just been trying to swerve around each other's lines as they come through that chicane. Through Bannochbrae Village now, and they're going to run out towards the coast into the second set of bridges here. But really tightly grouped at the moment between T. Scott, Giacomo and Redwood. This is looking to be the biggest contest between all of them. This is where we saw Lecky wipe himself out. He hung himself up on one of those posts. And as soon as you clip it, you just can't move. He did the right thing. He waited until the traffic came by. Unfortunately, the traffic came right by through his passenger door. And it was good night Irene for Lecky. He finds himself at the back of the grid at the moment. 13th position, 2 minutes and 5 seconds behind our leader. And that is not the start that he would have wanted. However, it looks as though we've got a little bit of action going on back here between All U82 and Luke Snipes. Looks as though Quiet Man has had a bit of a nightmare somewhere down the line. He was just tickling it around through the village. All you 82 missing a bonnet. It looks as though he's almost or just about hanging on to his bumper, and Giacomo is into the pits. Unsurprising, I think he caught up on quite a bit of damage. So for the Giacomo mob, expect this one to be a long pit stop, along with Old Smoky as well. I don't expect that it's going to be the last one. Just lap 3 here at Bannochbrae, and I've barely been able to take a breath. It's been non-stop action here in the touring cars. I'm really glad to see it back here on our broadcast schedule, because there's nothing but excitement guaranteed inside the touring car class. And in just 7 minutes of action, we've been able to separate our leader and the back of the pack by 2 minutes and 7 seconds. I imagine it's going to be even more come the end of it. Looks as though Luke Snipes is moving his way up, though. He's just passed TTV Giacomo and Old Smoky inside the pits. J46 Dyson comes in. Really unfortunate for him. He made big inroads after that off. Managed to get himself up into 3rd place and then binned it just after the start-finish line. So had to go around this pretty extensive track with some pretty heavy damage. So we've currently got 5 cars inside the pit lane. I think that the pit lane can only hold 6 at a time, so it's going to be interesting if anybody else tries to come in. But that's allowed Kovkal now to move up into 6th position. So Quiet Man, TTV Giacomo, J46 Dyson, Old Smoky and all U82 currently in the pits. And that's going to allow Tibby and Lecky to maybe make up some inroads. Tibby is gaining places and he finds himself up into 7th place. Lecky can't be too far away from that either. Back on over to our leader. Looks as though he's just coming past a back marker at the moment with the console. In fact, it looks as though it's the back marker of Lecky, I think. If it's the Momo, I think it could well be. So we're about to see Lecky. Yep, there he is, moving up into 9th position. Still got a lot of work to do to try and challenge the console, but the console's going to have to really work it here if he's going to make the tyres last for the entire duration of this one. The rain isn't coming down at the moment, and as the track starts to dry up, those tyre temperatures are going to start to rise and rise, and that's going to increase the wear. In fact, just on the top left-hand side of the screen, I can currently see the tyre just starting to warm up. So we'll have to wait and see how that one progresses. Just coming up to some backmarker traffic there, and the drivers all moving to one side. We're just coming through the pastors section there. Few cars having a little bit of a munch, but what a fantastic view we've got from the over the top flyby helicopter camera just onto the shorelines here of the Firth, and it's looking all safe so far for the console. Looks as though we've got a bit of action going on behind. I don't think it's for position at the moment, except for Old Smoky. He's trying to get onto the back of Lecky here, and this is a fight for position. So Lecky currently in 8th as we see Casey Redwood comes into the pits. So whether or not that's for damage, I can only assume it is after lap 4. Can't imagine that the tyres have gone off that quickly. Old Smoky and Lecky now battling for position. Lecky also very experienced on this circuit, maybe not in the rain, and maybe not with such a deficit as well, but we'll have to wait and see what he can do with this one. I don't think it's going to be the last of the pit stops inside this race, despite the drivers being so spread out. All it takes is one particular puddle, and then you're all in trouble. So 35 minutes of race remaining as we see the guys just coming over the jump there. Looks as though Old Smoky lifting out to make sure he keeps all 4 tyres on the ground. Well, that is the livery of Jack in the number 4. Zavima Racing, I think, that we've got ahead of him. Currently in 2nd place at the moment, so running really well. And there he is. Let's focus on him for a little bit. Nobody in the pits, so he's just on a pretty much dash over to the start finish line. He's got 10.5 seconds to make up on the console at the moment. It's looking like a pretty tough challenge, but he's got plenty of room to the rest of the drivers behind. Jack and the console, the only drivers to not come into the pits, I think, so far, and that shows in terms of the split times. You can see them 9 seconds apart from one another, and then you've got to go almost a full 43 seconds back. But we do see Jack just colliding there with the Armco on the right hand side. That may well be a little bit of damage. Potentially, if it's suspension damage, he's probably going to want to come in onto this one. So it looks as though the Giacomo mob still rooting for him at the moment, but he's just coming into the pits. Let's have a look at the timing boards. We have got a 20-second penalty from the console. Didn't spot that coming out. That must have been a false start, so I thought it was a really strong start. So at the moment, really, Jack de Menezes in second place is currently the provisional leader. 12.9 seconds behind the console at the moment, but he's got 20 seconds so long as he keeps away from the penalties. So we see Old Smokey coming into the pits once again. He's not going to be happy with that, but he must be coming in for some damage repairs. That's now allowed J46 Dyson to jump into 11th place. So TTV Giacomo finds himself in 12th, Old Smokey in 13th at the moment. We're currently tracking around the race leader. That is the console in the Actual Vision Megane. You can see he's keeping it nice and tidy. I think Jack de Menezes has got some considerable damage. He's lost a whole lot of time on this one, and looks as though that car is really struggling to turn in at the moment and stay on the straight line. So as suspected, some front right suspension damage, and he's pretty much nursing the car home at the moment. Say nursing it, he's doing 115 miles an hour, and let's see whether or not he lifts off for the jump. There's the big lift off. Keeps the four tyres onto the ground and controls it wonderfully there for a pad player. Hats off to Jack for that one. Looks as though we've got two guys in 5th and 6th. That's Casey Redwood and Luke Snipes currently into the pits. That's allowed Lecky to come on through into 5th place. So Lecky having a great recovery drive here. He's had two really contentious bits of action, as has Tibby as well. Tibby, our Dutch driver, finds himself jumping up into 6th place. Looks as though Lucy Axon is currently supporting, I'm assuming it's a significant other. Al Axon, aka All U82, he's currently running in 10th. Unfortunately, Lucy, but I'm sure that he can make a bit more of an inroad in that in the remaining 31 minutes of the race. Yeah, Lecky there with a big dump of the clutch, it seemed. Just heard his revs drop away, and I think it was who was it that was that he just overtaken? I'm just trying to see whose the livery might have been. I'm not too sure whatsoever. Somebody had eaten the barriers though, as Lecky and Tibby both came past. So Lecky in 5th, Tibby in 6th, but looks as though these guys have got quite a bit of distance between the drivers ahead of him. I'll just bring on the map at the moment. Looks as though T. Scott... Oh no, I beg your pardon, that's just because I brought them on. I thought T. Scott had been disconnected there. But on the map on the right hand side of your screen, you'll see how far spread out a lot of these drivers currently are. Does look as though we've got two drivers pretty close by at the moment. Looks as though it's J46 Dyson and potentially Luke Snipes as they come out of the pits. We've got somebody a little bit further up as well. My timing board's just not showing it to me at the moment. Got Esme currently rooting for Jack, which is Giacomo, to try and catch up. I'm sure that he'll be able to get onto the back of that second pack. I mean, if we have a look through the current split times, from 7th place Casey Redwood down to TTV Giacomo in 13th place, there isn't a huge amount of time between them. That is only one extra pit stop, and I think another pit stop is probably likely in these treacherous conditions around Bannochbrae. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, Esme, but it's certainly looking like it could be possible for TTV Giacomo to try and make up some positions. What is currently looking like the impossible though is somebody to try and catch the console. He finds himself with a spotlessly clean car. He's on lap 7 at the moment of the break, and he's got a whole 32.5 seconds ahead of his closest rival. This is a huge gap being formed up, but there's been nothing but frantic action at the start of this one. Looks as though Finley Wall and Esme are about to be disappointed. Looks as though TTV Giacomo comes into the pits. I've lost track of how many times it is, but he's really struggling to get some consistency in the Megane around this Bannochbrae circuit. Not to worry though, there is plenty left in the season. Looks as though he's might be on intermediate tyres there, I'm not too sure. We'll have to wait and see as he comes back in, but it looks as though Tibby has lost his tailgate in the BMW. He's lost half of the rear end as well. So big rear end collision for the Dutchman there at some point. But it's going to be a long pit stop for him. That's going to allow Casey Redwood and I think potentially Quiet Man and RU82 to try and get in. So good news for Lucy Axon as she watches on the comfort of the sofa. Looks as though Al Axon's about to make up an additional place over Tibby. Let's have a look here. He's just coming across the start-finish line. I think that from the extent of the damage on that 320 of Tibby, it's going to be a long pit stop. So nothing but non-stop action here at the Bray. Really exciting race here for you. Just heard the revs drop out of RU82 there. Not sure whether or not it was a bit of clutch again, or maybe it's just could well be my stream. But look at the tyres at the moment on the front of RU82's car. Looks as though there is a dry line forming up because those wet tyres are starting to heat up in certain points of the circuit. Not to worry though, it looks as though the rain is back here in Dunfermlineshire. Just starting to spit once again. It's going to be music to anybody's ears whose tyres were starting to heat up, and absolute horror news for anybody that was struggling before whilst the rain was happening. So let's flick back over to our leader, who's still going full hoon at the moment. 2 minutes 31.9 seconds that last time around, and anybody that that knows Bannochbrae circuit knows that that's not a bad time in the dry. It looks as though we've had our first retirement of the evening, or potentially our second as well. I think that we may have lost Stoltz just in the qualification, but looks as though TTV Giacomo, his day went from bad to worse, and he has lost his connection, it seems. Just reading through some of the pit lane chatter, and looks as though his Wi-Fi has eluded him. So Giacomo is out of this race. He was running in the back of there at the moment before he got disconnected, so it's not a major loss for him. I'm sure it would have hurt a lot more if he was in line for a podium position, but still sad to see him go. He's not going to pick up any points for this one. So back over to the action with J46 Dyson, who's currently chasing down RU82, and as the cars take off there, we see J46 Dyson just getting a little bit too familiar with the barriers there. Didn't look too big of an impact, so damage should be kept down to a minimum, but certainly going to hurt the resale value of that BMW 320 touring car come the end of this race. I don't think there's a straight panel left on there. 25 minutes of the race remaining. Lap 8 at the moment, with the console leading it ahead of Jack de Menezes in second place, T. Scott in third with Kovkarl in fourth, Lecky in fifth, and then Casey Redwood in sixth place. Quiet Man currently in seventh with RU82 in eighth, J46 Dyson in ninth, Luke Snipes in 10th, Tibby in 12th, and then Old Smokey making up the back of the pack. So whilst we've got a bit of a gap in the action, let me tell you about what's coming up this week here at Flux Motorsport. Currently tuned in to the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship. That's going to run every Tuesday for the next 8 weeks. But then on Thursdays we're going to be bringing you the the GT1 Championship. It's not going to be live, unfortunately, but we will be uploading those streams as soon as we can following the race. That first race of the season is going to be around Sportsland Sugo in Japan, with subsequent races at Daytona Road Course, Dubai Autodrome GP, Watkins Glen GP, Fuji Speedway GP in race 5, Sonoma Speedway in race 6, and then Sekito and Bathurst making up the back end of that season. So join Lecky, not live, but we will be uploading it, so make sure that you hit the subscribe button to our YouTube channel to make sure that you don't miss any of those. Also, you'll be able to pick up on Giacomo's highlight reels, also uploaded in the Season 2 folder, which is coming soon on the YouTube channel. So, got a bit of traffic here. Quiet Man ahead of the pack, 7th position with all you 82 and 8th and J46, although it looks as though Quiet Man just getting the exit of that corner a little bit wrong, comes into the barrier, missed both of the drivers behind, which is good news for them, and they can continue to carry on racing. That might well see Quiet Man returning to the pits once more though. So, following on from Thursday's GT1 Championship, our latest addition to the staffing team, which is Fast AF Gamer. He was actually our autumn special event champion alongside Snarling Bongo. He's going to be running an unaired LMP2 championship. That comes on Saturdays at 8 o'clock PM. And then you'll be able to join both myself and the current race leader of this touring car race around Bannochbrae, which is the console, live for our GT3 Championship. That kicks off Sunday live at 8 o'clock PM, as it will be doing for the next 8 weeks. First race of the season in the GT3s is Daytona Road Course, followed by Circuit of the Americas, and then race 3 and 4 will be Indianapolis Road Circuit and Long Beach GP. Then 5 and 6, as we see J46 Dyson, looks as though he might well have come together. Is that with Luke Snipes? No, it's not. I wonder whether or not it was just his own liveries that I saw. But yeah, race 5 and 6 is going to be Sonoma and Willow Springs in the GT3, Road America and Watkins Glen making up the final of the American tour of the GT3s. So be sure to follow us live at Sunday from 8 o'clock PM UK time for all of the GT3 action. And as I mentioned through the qualification session, if you're not yet a part of this fantastic racing community, we hold plenty of races on the PlayStation 4 for plenty of games. The only championships that we currently run are on Project Cars 2, but you'll find a lot of our clean drivers do enjoy plenty of other sim racing games on there as well. All you need to do to join is head on over to www.fluxmotorsport.com. You'll find a link in the top right hand side of the screen to join our Discord, and if you haven't got Discord, you can download it for free on your chosen mobile device or PC or Mac, and you'll be taken into our Discord where you'll just need to fill in a little bit of personal information, and then you'll be let loose upon our general chat room. If you do want to take part within the championships, we do host an evaluation drive just to make sure that you understand the rules of clean sim racing, and then we'll be able to get you involved as soon as possible. So back to the race in hand, lap 10 at the moment. We're tracking round the console through this one. Currently in first place with 20 minutes remaining to go. Let's jump into his cockpit cam at the moment. You'll be able to see how tough this one is. Doesn't look as though he's got his windscreen wipers activated, so suggests that he's currently riding in bonnet cam. You'll be able to get a good view as to what this is like as we go up the down the hill and up over the crested jump. Looks as though T. Scott in third place has just entered the pits, so there's going to be a change in our podium spots at the moment, and you can see how much of a lift the console is having to put into this just to try and keep it on the black stuff and away from the walls. But it's tidy driving from the race leader, 1 minute and 10 seconds ahead of the rest so far, and looks as though Big Al his support for the evening will be very happy on the stream, along with the dog. So it looks as though T. Scott has managed to get away with a splash and dash, maybe a change in rubbers as well. So he's managed to get out of the pits pretty sharp, and he retains 4th position, not lost out on another place, which Lecky will be disappointed about. He's currently in 5th, and he'll be hunting down T. Scott for his 4th place. Looks as though we've lost another driver as well. Not sure who it is, just checking through my race notes at the moment to see who may have dropped out. No, I'm not seeing anything spring out at me at the moment. In fact, it looks as though it's Green Gaming, so Green Gaming are goner. Or maybe it was a goner before the start of the race, not too sure, but it's going to be nil pois for all the drivers that don't finish this race. So let's have a look at the difference in the way that Lecky takes this second sector of the Bannochbrae Road circuit. I've raced with Lecky for years now, and I know that he tends to go full send, so I'm quite interested as to how he's dealing with this current spit of rain that all the rest of the field are currently having to deal with. It looked as though it was Tibby that actually ended up retiring. Tibby struggling under the conditions. Sorry to hear that, Tibby, but he'll be coming back next week, I'm sure, hopefully in drier conditions, but we'll have to wait and see. If you want to know what the conditions are going to be like for any of our races, we see Lecky there. Oh, is he going to miss the wall? Looks as though he just catches it in time and avoids another pit stop. As I was saying though, if you want to know what any of the races are going to be like for the upcoming calendar, the easiest thing that you can do is make sure that you follow us on our social media sites, so Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, all 3 if you're feeling extra keen, and have a look at what the next race is. 24 hours before the race is due to go out, we actually lock in the real world weather for wherever the race is taking place. So for next Tuesday's race, if you have a look at Portimao in the Algarve of Portugal, have a look what the weather's going to be like at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which is when our simulated races take place on Tuesday. You'll be able to know what weather to expect for this upcoming race. I think perhaps a few of our drivers may be checked. It's quite a hard place to look up for Bannochbrae. This isn't actually a race circuit as far as I'm aware of, and there is a Bannochbrae in New Zealand which has very different weather to Bannochbrae in Scotland, that's for sure. But I know the console actually checked for a place called Bray up in the Shetland Isles, which is probably a few hundred miles away from Dunfermline where this race is set. So he got caught out. He was expecting a dry race. He's done very well under the circumstances. As we flick over to that bright pink Actrol Vision car, he remains in first place with 1 minute and 25 seconds lead ahead of his nearest rival, which is Jack de Menzies at the moment. Kovkarl remains in third place, T. Scott in fourth with Lecky 2000 in fifth. 15 minutes remaining of our first race of the season. Looks as though we've had another retirement. Another driver just unable to take the figurative heat here at Bannochbrae. There certainly isn't much in the way of ambient heat. 51 degrees currently, and that is Fahrenheit for the track temperature, for the ambient temperature. 66 degrees Fahrenheit for track temperature. So it's pretty cold here, just north of Edinburgh, over on the other side of the River Forth. So the console continues to lead, and he's just coming up to some back markers now. Shouldn't be an issue. I think that's actually Kovkarl. It looks as though he's about to come up and have a chance at lapping third position here. And that just shows the outright pace and track knowledge that the console has around this circuit. He was also going to be my always going to be my favourite for this one, with how much time and effort he's put into it. Just seeing there, avoiding the puddles that are forming up on the left hand side of the home straight. Plenty of puddles in there as well as he comes past J46 Dyson with relative ease, so good to see. Under blue flags there, J46 Dyson just making it nice and easy for our current race leader. So no changes to speak of. I'm still trying to spot who it could be that that was our most recent victim of retirement. I know that we've lost Stoltz so far, we've lost Green Gaming, we've also lost Tibby as well. It looks as though actually it's Quiet Man. Quiet Man is the most recent victim, falling into the retired category. So there's going to be the championship blown wide open here. 5 drivers not scoring any points at all. So 1st to 10th will get some points on the board. There's also bonus points within our championship, so 1 bonus point for the fastest lap within the race, 1 bonus point for the pole position within the race. It's 35 points for a race victory and then 30 points for 2nd place. And then it comes down in multiples of 2 and 3 all the way down up until 15th place will get 2 points. That looked as though Kovkarl just absolutely ate it. That's going to be another pit stop, I think. Huge head-on collision there for the number 20 PCCF liveried Megane. So unfortunate for Kovkarl. I think he's going to lose out on a position if he does come into the pits. Who knows, with 12 minutes remaining, he might just opt to try and stick it out for the remaining 4, maybe 5 laps of this race. Have to wait and see. So back over to our leader. It is the console in his number 8 Actral Vision Megane. Getting all 4 wheels off the ground. Looks as though he's currently chasing down. Who is that ahead? Just trying to have a look on my spec sheet. I recognise the livery. It's the air bubbles, so it'll be All U82 that's ahead of him. And it looks as though All U82 coming into the pits. So I suspect actually, with the way that he's been running, that is going to be a change of tyres. Let's have a look at All U82 as he comes in. See whether or not we can see any change. I know it looks as though his car's damaged, but his car's been pretty damaged all the way through this one. Can't see any change in tyres there as we see Kovkarl getting very intimate with All U82 there. Not sure what's going on. Both of them having the same pit stop. All sorts sending me under at the moment with the windscreen wipers. Be sure not to look into it. It's hypnotising me. Let's flick on back over to the console before I start dribbling. So the console continues to lead ahead of Jack Demenzies at the moment, with T. Scott in 3rd place. Lecky is now in 4th as Kovkarl is still in the pit, so it looks as though it was damage repairs for him. Casey Redwood is in 6th place. Not sure whether or not he's going to be able to get out ahead of Kovkarl. We'll have to wait and see. So watch this space. J46 Dyson in 7th with Luke Snipes in 8th. All U82 in 9th now that he's out of the pits, and Old Smoky in 10th position. 10 minutes and 20 seconds remaining here in round 1 of the FMTC Championship. Looks as though the console is going to put his best foot forward. He's got a big 20-point penalty. 20-second penalty. But it's not going to matter because he's got an additional 1 minute and 24 seconds, or 26 seconds, sorry, ahead of his nearest rival. Looks as though Casey Redwood has got a sizable penalty. That looks as though that's for speeding inside the pit lane. 50 seconds. It's a very tricky pit lane to get into here at Bannochbrae. All U82 has also got 10 seconds worth of penalty, as has Old Smoky. But the fastest lap so far is held by the console, 2 minutes 30 seconds .975. So it looks as though the console is going to be taking up the 35 points for the win, along with the 2 bonus points, unless we see any change in the remaining 9 minutes and 20 seconds of this session. I think at this point on wet tyres, now that the rain has stopped, the track is going to dry out. It looks as though the sun has come out here at Bannochbrae, so the track will start to dry out, but it's not going to be completely dry within the final 9 minutes of the session. So the console comes across the line for lap 15 here at Bannochbrae. You can see that he's currently 9 seconds slower than his fastest lap. This is him just making sure that he keeps it on the black stuff, facing the right direction, and not getting to know the sheep in the fields by the side of him. Little wave there of the green flag from the marshal. Nice to see he's still awake. Looks as though Old Smokey is coming to the pits. That's going to be an interesting pit stop count from Old Smokey. Don't think the console's come into the pits at all. I don't think he's needed to come in for any damage repairs. You can see the front end of that pink Actrovision car is absolutely spotless, as is the side panels and the rear end. But interestingly, he must have put a hell of a lot of fuel in it, because he's still got 57 litres on board, and he's managed to keep his tyres pretty much perfect with 8 minutes to go. For those of you that are new to what we do here at Flux Motorsport, all of our sessions that you see broadcast actually have accelerated tyre wear within Project Cars 2's tyre wear model. This gives us a realistic strategy for pit stops. So you'll often find that any drivers locking up the wheels under braking or spinning at any point will really suffer from accelerated tyre wear. But the console's done very well to get it through 45 minutes of intermittent rain here at Bannochbrae without absolutely mincing those front rubbers. Because remember, folks, that these Renault Meganes are front wheel drive. In fact, all of the touring car class except for the BMW 320 is front wheel drive, and the 320, of course, being a BMW rear wheel drive. BMW is actually the lighter of the two cars as well. You'll only see Renault Meganes and BMWs currently in the season this far. The Renault Megane with 330 brake horsepower, but it does weigh 2,777 pounds. The BMW has only 315 brake horsepower, but it is a few hundred pounds lighter at 2,535 pounds. Both cars operating with a straight 4 6-speed sequential, and as mentioned before, the Renault Megane front wheel drive, whereas the BMW is rear. So 6 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock now remaining inside this one. The console continues to lead ahead of Jack de Menzies in second. Leckie is now up into third place. He managed to overtake T. Scott that last lap around. And I think T. Scott may have had a bit of an issue. Looks as though he has. He's missing almost the entire front end of that car, and he isn't looking particularly stable either. And that might actually allow... I think that's all U82 that we can see behind him actually, so maybe not allow all U82 Bass, but allow all U82 to one lap himself. Yeah, you can see there T. Scott just lifting off pretty majorly. I doubt he'll be throwing it in either. He's very ginger on the throttle, it seems, unless he's on a straight section, so I suspect that he's going to be coming in for some damage repairs this time around. Look over to Leckie. He's had a great recovery drive considering he got absolutely murked within the opening couple of laps. Might have even been the opening lap of this race. Got T-boned just coming over the final bridge section, and yeah, that wiped him out completely. So from that, perseverance has paid off. A few retirees, in fact quite a number of retirees from this race, 5 all told, and that's allowed Leckie to jump through the pack with ease and find himself currently in line for a podium. If he can try and push at the end of this race, maybe try and get the fastest lap, that'll give him the extra bonus point and set him up quite nicely for the season ahead. Otherwise, it's going to be bragging rights to the console for the remainder of the week. up until the next race at the Portimao Algarve circuit. So whilst we've got a little bit of time, 4 minutes and 10 minutes remaining, let's just have a little look at what the current weather forecast is for Portugal this next coming week. So the next week's look ahead, it is currently looking cloudy and pretty warm. We have got a chance of showers at 12 o'clock, which might make qualification interesting. It looks as though currently, and it is in a week's time, we could be set for a dry race in the next one, which will be music to everybody's ears. As mentioned earlier though, that only gets locked in Monday afternoon at 1 o'clock PM, so make sure that you check the weather then to see what the next upcoming race is going to be. And that works with all of our championships broadcast here at FluxMotorsport. So if you're doing the same for the GT3s as it's getting broadcast live on Sunday, then be sure to check Saturday afternoon 1 o'clock and you'll be able to lock in what the race weather is likely to be. 3 minutes remaining of the session, lap 17 of Bannochbrae. We're now in 2 minutes and 50, which means that we are probably going to have an extra lap after this current one. So it's going to be 18 laps all told, I think. Unless we see the console slowing it down as he goes under the viaduct at the moment. It's been a stellar race from the man in pink all the way through this. 2 minutes and 13 seconds gained ahead of his closest rival. A couple of pit stops have held back the rest of the pack, whereas the console has managed to just drive it all the way through. See, flying through the post box there. And looks as though he's just about to encounter Jack Menzies, who's about to lap second place. That shows the amount of pace he's had coming through this circuit. No chances being made, and second place moves over under blue flags. Oh, big chance to be had by Jack Menzies. Looks as though he's taken himself out as he's let the leader through. I wonder whether or not maybe just a bit of backdraft coming through or a change in the air pressure just threw him into the wall. But absolute horror show from Jack Menzies there. He's going to have to grind this one out. He doesn't want to pit, otherwise he could well be challenged by Lecky, who's currently in third place. So he's going to want to grind this one out for the remaining lap. We are going to be in our final lap though, ladies and gents. 1 minute left on the timer. And the console comes across the line to begin lap 18. This is going to be the final lap of the race. And it does look as though Jack Menzies, our sports journalist, is sticking it out there. His car is looking very unsteady since that accident, though. He is racing on a pad compared to most other drivers on the grid, currently racing in a steering wheel sim rig. So he's a little bit set back to some of the other ones, and whilst it may be relatively easy to control your car with a lot of practice on a control pad, in normal conditions the rain is going to make it a little bit harder, but damage is going to make it exceptionally tough. So he's going to really have to grind this one out. He has got around about 30 seconds, just less than lead, ahead of the third place of Lecky. So it's his to lose, I suppose. We'll have to wait and see if he can keep it on the straight and narrow for now. Good old friend of ours, NRP, in the comments section on YouTube. Good to see you, Nicky. He's saying well done, console. Who knows, Nicky could well lose it just yet. He's got half a lap to go. I'm hoping that the post box falls into the track. Absolutely wipes him out, but I think it is going to be bragging rights to the console for this one. Giacomo doing very well to keep on top of it. That car very damaged. I'm expecting both sides of the front end ruined on this one. T. Scott has come into the pits. Can't believe that. It must have been pretty heavily damaged to come into the pits, because that's going to grant 5th place to Casey Redwood, I think. Maybe gain a little bit more. Big Al commenting that she's going to keep Alex grounded after his head begins to swell after this opening race victory. I'll be honest, Big Al, you're going to have to struggle. I know that we're not going to hear the end of it here in the moderator room, but it's been justified for sure. He comes around the second to last corner now. He's just got the kink left to complete this final lap of Bannochbrae, and it's an emphatic victory for the Console in the opening race of the season. 2 minutes and 30 seconds to his nearest rival, who's actually coming round 1 lap behind in lap 17 for Jack de Menzies at the moment. So second place is going to be his, but he's done very well to hold on to it. It's going to be 30 points for Jack de Menzies. Lecky 2000 doing very well on a recovery drive. For any of those of you that were tuning in a little bit late, rewind this video as soon as you can. Watch the opening couple of laps and you'll see why I'm calling it a recovery drive for Lecky 2000. Absolute carnage in the rain here at Bannochbrae. So Lecky did very well to keep his head on his shoulders and persevere into a final podium spot. His front tyres are looking pretty cooked, his engine's also looking pretty hot as well, but he comes across the line with 2 minutes and 40 odd seconds behind the race leader. Over to Kovkar, looks as though he's held on for 4th place. His nearest rival T. Scott is around about 25 seconds behind, just shy of that, but yeah, good race from Kovkar. I was expecting him to do a lot better until he became very acquainted with one of the stone walls that surround this circuit, which is why you can see him at the moment with no front end. But still a good race for Kovkar. It's going to be some points in the bag in the run up to the Portimao race next week. Let's just have a look at the penalties as it stands. It looks like Casey Redwood with a 50-second penalty is actually getting very close to losing out on his position to J. Scott. He's going to have to really throw the hammer down to make sure that he doesn't lose out here. But Kovkar comes across the line. 4th place for Kovkar in the end. Now following around T. Scott for the final minute of this session. I do believe that that's Casey Redwood behind him as well. Casey Redwood with a 50-second penalty, so this isn't going to matter for position. Want to make sure that they don't come towards the end of this, don't come together towards the end of the race. We don't want any. The room is going to be pretty full already from the start of that race. So there we can just have a look at the tyres of the Console. No tyres at all left on the front of that car. However, he does get the race victory despite a false start and a 20-second penalty. Jack de Menzies ends up in 2nd place with Lecky in 3rd, as mentioned earlier. Kovkar does very well to secure 4th place. T. Scott in 5th in the end, with Casey Redwood in 6th. J46 Dyson in 7th place and Luke Snipes in 8th. Al Axon in 9th place in the end. An unfortunate run for him. He was looking pretty quick at certain points, just one too many pit stops, I believe. Same with Old Smokey, who ended up with 3 pit stops in the end. So that is all that we've got time for here at round 1 in the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship. We'll be next live on your screens on Sunday from 8 o'clock for the GT3 Championship. However, be sure to hit a like and subscribe to this video and to our channel to make sure that you don't miss any of the GT1 action, as well as the highlight videos from this race and the special event that happened last Sunday. I've been your host for the evening. I've been Murphy. I will be racing inside that GT1 race on Thursday, so I'll see you on track then. And other than that, take care, enjoy the week ahead, and I'll see you on the microphone once again with tonight's race winner, the Console, live and direct from 8 o'clock PM on our YouTube channel for the coverage of the GT3 Championship. Take care, everyone, and see you next time.